Sentence summary. 15 years after going into witness protection, Mel Gibson, who is apparently the best man ever, has to go on the run with his former fiancée, Goldie Hawn. The characters had actual names, I'm sure. Could you beat the villain? Bill Duke and David Carradine are former DEA agents who are out to get Mel Gibson for some reason. But they don't seem all that good at, the attempted murder thing. So Mel Gibson, in this situation, he suspects something's going on. He doesn't trust the FBI who are supposed to be looking out for him. If it were me, number one, I wouldn't say those horrible things about Jewish people. Number two, I suspect the FBI are kind of leaking secrets or they're in on trying to attempted kill me. Got it. I would say, okay, Mr. FBI man, I'm going to be over here in the park and come and pick me up. And then I would wait outside the park at a good vantage point, see who turns up. See if it's, people obviously trying to kill me. And then, the hunters become the prey. How would you improve this film? So the title, Bird on a Wire, is based on a song, and that song is featured in the film, but it's just not very good. And you see so much of Goldie Hawn's bum in this film, it is distracting. There's a bit where she's climbing up a ladder, or something like that, and there's a gust of wind, and Mel Gibson's like, oh, thank God you started wearing underwear. You're like, well, that is crass, this film from 1990. We wouldn't get away with that anymore. And then, that sort of thing happens again and again and again. There's even a bit where they're riding a motorbike and it's just windy, so her skirt blows up. It's like, oh, there's her ass. So yeah, that was weird. Like, why is that in this film? Whose decision was it? I did wonder if it was like a stunt bum as well, because I don't think you see her face and her bum at the same time in the film. Not that I was paying that much attention, I'm just saying. And there's a weird bit where Goldie Hawn is wearing a towel because she's just got out of the shower in a horrible hotel, and she bends over to get something, and Mel Gibson is caught looking at her bum. So surely at this point he's bored of seeing it, because it's been like 2 or 3 days of nothing but arse every 10 minutes. Goldie Hawn bumps into Mel Gibson 15 years after she thought he died, which is awkward, and she's not really sure it's him. So she says to this guy, look, let me see your arm, because the guy I'm thinking of, he had a tattoo there. Mel Gibson's all like, oh, look, no tattoo. She's like, I said the other arm. He's like, oh, okay. And he shows her a scar. He's like, I see, I got this in Nam, so look, there's no tattoo in that exact position. She's like, oh, yeah, well, it's definitely not you then, because the person I'm thinking of, he was against killing. Wow, what a bold statement to make. Also, Mel Gibson murders a number of people in this film, so is he really against killing? Goldie Hawn, she's on a business trip because she's an important lawyer, and she has a rented car that just gets absolutely ruined. But that's besides the point. Why does she have a pair of binoculars in that car that she can spy on Mel Gibson with? I don't know. And when it was revealed that Mel Gibson worked as a hairdresser previously, you knew he was going to go camp, even before he opened his mouth. And it was very, very awkward. Strange thing about that is, he's got a mullet. Now, I guess it was the style at the time. That's a horrible haircut for someone who's supposed to be a hair professional. They said that they were in Wisconsin, and there's a bit of a police chase, and I'm sure the motorcycle police officer who was chasing them says that they're in like Phantom Alley, which is in Canada, like Vancouver or wherever they filmed it. Why would you mention the alley? Just say it's a random alley. There's another police officer who's in a car chase with the pair, and his car gets hit by a train, and you see him walk it off, but he's definitely dead. Mel Gibson's old girlfriend Rachel the vet, she says, oh look, you guys escape and I'll lay down some cover and fire. Number one, she's terrible at laying down cover and fire. I don't know what she was doing, but it took her too long to reload every single time. Number two, luckily the guy shooting at him from a helicopter can't shoot for shit, so she didn't really need to lay down that cover and fire. David Carradine and Bill Dukes, as I said, they're the main villains in this film, even though they're barely in it. David Carradine, he's been in jail for 15 years because Mel Gibson testified against him back in the day, and that's why he's in witness relocation, witness protection. And he comes out of prison with no shoes on. That's gross. Ugh. Anyway, they've got to kill Mel Gibson now because they need to, get back in the game and do some drug dealing and stuff. But the cartel guys won't work with them because Bill Dukes could still be arrested and go to jail or something like that. But surely if Mel Gibson could prove that Bill Dukes was involved in that murder and that drug smuggling, he would have done 15 years ago when David Carradine went to jail. Oh yeah, what was with that horrible flashback that had a weird filter on it? I didn't like that at all. Is it just because Mel Gibson didn't look 15 years younger? Weird. Marvin runs a garage that Mel Gibson works at the beginning of the film, and like everyone else, he thinks Mel Gibson is the best man ever. And having only known the guy 3 months, he wants to get him to be a business partner. Anyway, sadly Marvin dies. He is shot to pieces by either David Carradine or Bill Dukes, one of them, and then the petrol station he's in explodes. Why happens a lot of trouble. But then the next day, the cops find Marvin's body, not burnt to a crisp, and he has written Billy Ray on some stairs in spray paint because that's what he thought Mel Gibson's name was. How did he find the time to do that whilst he'd been shot with a shotgun, right? And then he's like, oh no, the building's on fire. And so on and so forth. Was Marvin's wife also killed in that petrol station explosion? Marvin, he says, he's going to go upstairs to sleep, I think he says, or rest, or something like that. Maybe he lives above the petrol station, I'm not quite sure. But he has got a wife, because his wife invited Mel Gibson to dinner, so... Goldie Hawn is asleep for quite a lot of this film, almost as much as you can see her arse, so that's strange. And she says at one point, that's me, the light just died, she says at one point that after her and Mel Gibson have hooked up and she's cheated on her boyfriend or whatever it is, a bit sad. Anyway, she says, oh, I had that same dream that I used to have when we made love. Did she have the same dream every single time? Because that's strange, like, these are some weird people. So there's only one guy that Mel Gibson trusts to clear his name, and he's like retired from the FBI and all that sort of stuff. And Mel Gibson speaks to this guy's sister on the phone, and she's like, I don't think he'll remember you. And at that point, she should have said, because my brother has got dementia and he can't really remember anything. But she didn't. She wasted everyone's time. The big finale is set at the zoo, and Mel Gibson cleverly lures the villains there by writing zoo on a piece of paper and then just scarpering. And they find it and they're like, aha, he's gone to the zoo down the road. Badly mistreated are the animals at this zoo that they revolt the first chance they get. Mel Gibson opens, some doors and all that sort of stuff, lets the animals loose, and then they just murder everyone they get the chance to. But at one point, there's some chimps who get a gun, and you're like, this is how Planet of the Apes started. These chimps are going to kill people. They're going to leave the zoo and start going on a killing spree. We didn't see that, but it definitely happened. Because imagine the zoo workers who turn up, for the early shift the next day. They've got fucking tigers and baboons running around. You're like, well, I don't get paid enough for this. At that same zoo, Mel Gibson does an impression of a dog to lure Bill Duke to his death. Why would there be a dog at the zoo? There is an African savannah / South America room, because those are the same, and it's just got like birds and reptiles and other creatures loose in it. That doesn't seem very safe. Why have you forced these animals from different continents into one ecosystem inside a zoo? And that gun that the chimps had, Goldie Hawn finds the gun when she's hiding from the different law enforcement people, and you're like, oh wow, this is going to come into play later. It doesn't. I don't know why she was carrying it around apart from to give it to those chimps later, not that they do anything with it. And one of the crooked law enforcement dudes who's hunting Mel Gibson, he's working for the FBI, and he's talking to Mel Gibson on the phone because Mel Gibson's spooked because he's been recognised. He's like, oh, okay, cool, Mel Gibson's character, we'll come and pick you up tomorrow. And that's how David Carradine and Bill Dukes find out where he is. Coincidentally, like the next day after they've got that story from the cartel people where you got to kill your past trouble. Anyway, this guy from the FBI deletes Mel Gibson's file, but he saves it onto a floppy disk, and you see him carrying it around in his pocket. And you think, this is going to be, Mel Gibson's going to get his hand on this disc. This is how he will prove who he says he is, and that's how he gets his life back. That does not happen. I believe the disc is eaten by some piranhas, along with the guy whose pocket it was in. Goldie Hawn has kept a picture of Mel Gibson and their third wheel friend Jamie from 15 years ago because she thought Jamie and Mel Gibson were both dead. Not that it's really mentioned anything about Jamie. Mel Gibson just kind of says, oh yeah, by the way, he's dead. She didn't ask. Anyway, she's kept this picture of Mel Gibson and a guy who died 15 years ago involved in this case, which led to Mel Gibson going into witness protection. And you think, this is going to be how he proves who he says he is and gets his life back. That does not happen in this film. Goldie Hawn is a high-powered lawyer type in this film, and you think, this is how Mel Gibson... I'm going to stop you there. That doesn't happen in the film. There's no explanation at the end why he's just on a yacht, apparently living off her money because she's rich, and throughout the film they've clashed it, like, she's rich, she's spoiled, he's giving food to homeless people or whatever. You know, apparently they're just happy together, living on this yacht. But yeah, there's no explanation now. His life is fine now, and apparently no consequences for like 5 murders that he's done within the last week. Mel Gibson is shot, I believe, 3 times in this film, and he walks it off, quite literally in one case. And in the final confrontation, Mel Gibson and David Carradine are on this rope ladder thing. Actually, I think it was a walkway, but it broke, so it was kind of swinging above some murder tigers. And I'm pretty sure Mel Gibson grabs Carradine's nuts. There's no need for that. He was already being electrocuted. Good lord. Rating out of 5 beers. I would give this 5 beers out of 5. It was not great. It didn't make me angry, but it is clearly from a different time, and I don't ever intend to watch this again. Goodbye, film forever.